Everybody, if you don't know me, I am Meredith Hawley. I'm a lawyer, power dynamics facilitator, and best-selling author. And this month, I have committed to offering 30 mini trainings in 30 days here on Facebook Live. So I'm going to do them when my schedule allows, and you should watch out for them. I'm going to label them so you can make sure that you've watched all of them. And what I really want to know and what you can really help me with is what is helpful about these. What are your questions? Message me your questions if you have any. If you're willing to write them in the comments, I would love to hear them. What would be helpful to you to know, and where are you struggling? Where are these working, and where do you need more information? So I want these to be useful, and any feedback that you have, it really helps me. So today, and the purpose of these is that I believe that we are in a public health crisis, that we're in a public cultural health crisis. And you see people leaving jobs, moving from job to job because of the culture in these jobs. And I believe that this problem is totally solvable if we really look at it and we learn some of these simple tools. So each one of these tools I want to be simple. Some of them might seem kind of funny. Today's is a little bit potentially funny sounding, but it works. And I will tell you, it's worked in my experience. I think that most of us have had a boss at one point or another. If you're like me and you have sort of a background in the service industry, then you probably had a lot of these bosses who yell at you, who demean you, who maybe are overly critical and don't give you positive feedback. And so this concept that I want to teach today is the boss jar. And the boss jar is one way that I've consistently been able to deal in a positive way with managers that other people have had a lot of problems with. And so here's what I want you to think about. Who is your boss? In your work, is it a supervisor? Is it a client? A lot of times we think of somebody as our boss, like the owner of a company or whoever it is. And what I want you to think about is that whoever governs your work, whoever you are serving in your work, is your client. So the first thing you want to think about is, who is the specific person that is challenging, that is potentially your boss? Is it somebody who is paying you as a client? Or is it somebody who's your supervisor at work? Those are usually the two categories that these fall into, but I am open to, if you have a different unique situation, I'm open to that. So you want to think about, who is your boss? Who's your challenging boss? And how would you show up for them? Would you be willing to to try out these different tools for them if they were your client? The other thing you want to think about as an underlying question in all of this is, if they were coming to you and hiring you as a client, what would you charge them in order to go through this process, in order to work with them about this? And I kind of ask that because most people who come to me as a lawyer, most people who I work with who have struggles at work also don't negotiate their salaries and don't think about what would make it worth it to them to implement some new procedures, to do something that's hard in order to create the work environment that they want, but also make the money that they want. So I'm going to tell you about this tool. I had this boss one time, and she was a supervisor, and every email that I sent to her, this was as a lawyer, every email I sent to her, she would tell me something wrong that I had done. And when we sat in a client meeting, she would often tell me I had done things, she would tell the client I had done things wrong, but I actually hadn't. It would turn out later, but I didn't want to argue with her in front of the client. So sometimes there would be these misunderstandings with clients. And so once I started really using this tool in a clear way, it really helped our communication, and it helped her change her behavior a little bit. A lot of times we're taught that we just need to manage ourselves. We just need to have a positive attitude about somebody else's behavior we don't like. And I think that while you do deserve to feel good, you do deserve to feel positive, there are ways that we can impact other people's behavior and help them understand how to treat us. So the boss jar is literally a jar, like literally get a jar and have it full of some kind of candy, almonds, whatever you're comfortable with. I've done this both ways. I've done it with chocolate is one that people like, and I've done it with almonds because in one workplace, everybody that was a supervisor over me didn't want to eat candy. They weren't eating chocolate, and so I used almonds in that situation. And so you want a tangible product. And then when okay, so I'm going to give you this example. I had this boss who would come into my office, and I had a jar of chocolate on my desk, and he would take the chocolate and he would then criticize me. And I told him he's not allowed to have chocolate unless he gives me a compliment. So you first want a tangible reward that is available in your space. It doesn't have to be an office. You could be outside and you could have it in a purse. And you want this tangible reward to be available. So tangible reward means food, usually in this context. You want some kind of food reward available. And then when your boss comes in and they're acting in a way that you want them to act, you immediately give them a reward. If they're acting in a way that you do not want them to act, you take the jar off of your desk and remove the reward. And so this is one step in managing somebody else's behavior. This comes from like pet training and from actually child development practices. This is what they teach related to helping kids with challenging behavior, but it works for adults with behavior that you don't like. So for example, with my boss who came in and he would criticize me and then he would take a chocolate, and I told him, you can only have a chocolate if you say something nice to me first. And he immediately, every time he came into my office after that, would say something nice to me before he would take the chocolate. Like he just learned it immediately. And you want to be respectful about this. This is somebody that you are working for, right? But often we hold ourselves back from asking for the behavior that we want because we're afraid of getting a negative result. So for example, we're afraid to say, you need to say something nice to me before you get a chocolate, because we're afraid that our boss will have more bad behavior, that they'll yell more at us. Really, if we can say it in a respectful way, if we can say, oh, here are the rules, you just didn't realize what the rules are, here are the rules about my chocolate, then we can communicate something clearly. So the first thing you want to do is literally have a jar with some kind of reward in it. And you want to sort of test it out. What does your boss like? What is the most effective situation in this? So do they like Skittles better than chocolate, for example? And do they like almonds and they don't eat candy, right? What's the most effective reward? And then you want to have it available and immediately reward behavior that you do like. You want to immediately reward compliments, for example, right? And then if they're acting in a way that you don't like, if they come into your space criticizing, you just remove the jar from it being available. You make wherever it is, if you're out in a field or in the field and you have it in your purse, you just make it less available to the person. So it signals to them that the reward is not available. This can be a pretty subtle thing that you can do, and it's not intended to be manipulative. It's intended to be clear. So the three things to remember about this are: you have a tangible reward, you immediately provide it when there's behavior you don't like, and you remove it when there's behavior you don't like. So like I have a puppy, and so we do this with my puppy with clicker training. You can even say yes before you hand the candy, and don't be weird about it. I'm saying it in kind of a weird, stilted way, but you can even just say, oh, do you want a candy? When you see behavior that you do like. So the other thing, the other bonus fourth step of this, for those of you who are tracking with me, the bonus fourth step of this is that if somebody is having significant behavior that you do not like, yelling, criticizing, any kind of abuse, coming too far into your space, things like this, you want to then shift and you want to reward yourself by taking yourself out of the situation and giving yourself whatever you need. So for example, the example I always give with people that I challenge people to do is if their boss is yelling, you can say, hey, it's totally cool if you want to yell. I'm going to go take the company credit card and buy myself a Starbucks while you're yelling, but you just text me when you're ready for me to come back and we can have a conversation then. So you go reward yourself with the Starbucks or ice cream or whatever it is for you, and you let the boss yell, you let them have whatever experience they want to have, but you've now removed yourself as a reward system from the boss. So, so tangible rewards, this is why it's important to have it be a food treat. Tangible rewards are the easiest reward to give people, but people are also motivated by your attention. So the more attention that you're giving to a boss's bad behavior, the more they're going to keep having this bad behavior, even if you're yelling back at them, if you're crying, if you're having attention towards their behavior, that's going to be a reward in itself. So taking yourself out of the situation both rewards you, and it makes sure that you're not rewarding the behavior that you don't like. So it's a really simple tool, and I've told you sort of a lot of technical things about it, but the main thing is have a jar of candy and literally hand it to your boss when they have behavior you like. If the boss isn't in your space, if you work virtually, you can do this by saying yes, by just saying yes. I love that. Just notice when you're saying yes, and then instead of arguing with anybody, just be silent if you can to take the attention away. So saying yes, saying thank you, saying I really appreciate that when you see behavior that you do like, gives the positive attention with behavior you do like, and then silence when you see behavior you don't like. I was thinking about this in relation to how I've been thinking about all these issues as public health crises. And I think it's so interesting when we go to a doctor's office or a dentist's office, we always talk about getting, like when you're a kid, you get candy at the doctor's office. And that is intentionally using this tool to reward us for taking care of our health. So when you see things in your environment that you do like, that are positive cultural health, you want to actively reward that in a way that people respond to. You can test out different things. You can test out what do people like in your environment, but this is what I've seen as a simple tool that makes a massive impact. In behavioral terms, you can call this a token economy even, although this is really a tangible, this is really a direct reward more than a token economy. But if you can have a simple signal of yes, of here is your reward for having good behavior, and then eliminate the reaction to negative behavior, I think you can be really effective. So let me know if you know somebody who is struggling in a workplace. Have them reach out, tell me what their questions are. I want to make sure I answer everybody's questions in this 30 days of training. I'm going to do another 2 today, I'm planning on. And so I hope they're helpful. And yeah, let me know any questions that you have. Of course, my book is always available for anyone who's really struggling, and that's at careerdefense101.com. But otherwise, just have people reach out and message me here. I'm usually pretty quick to respond, although it does get a little crazy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.